I will be fairly brief because most of the things that need to be said, I think have been said by those who spoke before me. I think what is left now for us to do is to move forward and get some work done. It's a good day for all of us. Why? Because we're making a big step in trying to ensure that we coordinate and organize the private security sector in the country. We've had several discussions before on what needs to be done. And now is the time to begin that journey that we have to walk to ensure that we sort this out. I therefore will be very brief and thank you, all of you, my colleagues, George and everybody from my office for a good speech. I'll try to summarize it briefly instead of reading it so that we can get some work done today. Let me first of all spell out what I think our vision is and what we want to do. After that, I will tell you this, that we are for sure determined. If anyone here is in doubt, let me start by confirming to you, we are determined to reform this sector. And nothing is going to slow us and nothing is going to stand in our way. We must achieve the objectives we have as a society. Because oftentimes in the public sector, in our country, we sometimes do more public relations than actual work, and we think that is how we'll get the results done. We speak to each other as brothers and sisters because we are Kenyans. Those of you who are our investors, we love you and respect you, and we want you to succeed. Right now, in the private security sector, we employ about 700,000 people. Our plan as government is that we could actually, with the reforms we want to introduce, if we implement all these reforms, in the next 2 to 3 years, we could double the number to 1.5 million people. And that's how we provide employment. And for those of you who have invested in the sector, you should be very excited and happy at this time. We are basically giving you money because we are giving you business in parastatals, we are giving you business in banks, we are getting out of what my colleague, the PS and the Inspector General describe as non-essential and non-core security services, so that we leave this to you to carry on. Your balance sheet will look different because we're giving you more business, and you should therefore be very happy. That's why I must say I was very disappointed by the lobbying that you were engaged in with Parliament to defeat the regulations. And you all know that we know. We are government, we know this. We can even tell you the accounts you are using. And who was sending what money? We know. Let's not pretend here. For sure. And as the PS said, let's not shed crocodile tears here and be free. But I think, to be very honest with you, you are clever by half. We have to achieve our objectives. That is what it is. And we are not going to go around in circles on this matter and engage in a merry-go-round. We must achieve our objectives. My boss, our president, has committed himself to this. I have firm instructions that we need to proceed on this, and forward we shall move on it. Because we are training huge numbers in the National Youth Service. Today we have a passing out parade in Gilgil. A lot of our young people who are ready, willing, and available to provide services. So we support them. And the private security sector is one of that area that we want to grow, professionalize, standardize. The reason why we are launching regulations today, curriculum today, is not that, as my colleague, the PS, has said, we standardize the level of training, we equip the sector. Because a lot of people, particularly from diplomatic agencies, were asking me, how can you give guns to private security organizations? And I was saying, no, we are going to do the training first. Once we do the training, we will have regulations and a framework within which this is going to be done. We are not a disorderly society. who's going to wake up in the morning and give, every Tom, Dick, and Harry guns. We are going to operate in a very methodical manner. And that's why now we have a curriculum. Now we have training institutions are here. I can see my brother, Dr. Juan here, the head of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, and I'm happy that you are involved in this. So that now we move forward in an orderly way and ensure that we do the right thing that we are supposed to do. So as we launch the curriculum today, IG and all my colleagues from the National Police Service, we are determined, and I want to assure you, we will support you to now begin training and maintaining high-level standards for the private security sector, as it were, so that you can take up the new roles and so that you can take up the new assignments that you are going to have. For reasons that, one, however hard we tried from our exchequer resources, we will not be able to provide all those security services. And I want to reason with you on this matter, my friends. We have over 30 universities in the country. And I want to use education as an example. We have over 30 universities in the country. You have seen recently the challenges we are having within university communities. In Juja, JKUAD, Maseno, Kibabii University. Even if you were to actually ask IG MATIANG'I to locate a fully fledged police station near every university and provide the resources, frankly speaking, we don't have all the resources we need to provide these kind of services. That's why we are saying, let us collaborate, non-core and non-essential, where we feel that private security companies can go in, we do proper training, we equip them, and we make sure that they're able to provide support in those services. So that, the parastatals and, like many of our parastatals, instead of providing, askaris at the KRA installations and so on, we limit the installations where we provide support. The rest we leave to private security organizations to carry on. So we're not doing this without a plan. There's a plan. We've thought through this, and it's something that we all need to go through. And for us to achieve that plan, we have to reform the sector. Reforms are usually not a walk in the park. They are painful. But we have to carry them out, because we are not going to have a sensible sector if we don't reform ourselves, as it were. So let me, for those of you who can access the Act, so that you don't accuse me of doing my own things. This is what the Act says at Article 17. The authority, that is the Private Security Authority, the authority shall operate under the supervision of the Cabinet Secretary. I am the Cabinet Secretary. So, in doing that, I am supervising. I'm doing what the Act says. This is the law. It was passed in Parliament. And it says, where the authority fails to maintain any prescribed standard in the fulfillment of its functions under this Act, the Cabinet Secretary may give general or special directions to the authority describing the extent of the failure and stating the steps required to remedy the situation. Again, the Act requires the Cabinet Secretary, who is myself, to prescribe what is supposed to happen as we move forward. And I don't fail in my job. I have to do my job. If you look at the Act, I'm reading this so that tomorrow you don't go to the papers to say, I am doing my own things. The Act, Article 9, you read the Article 9H, says this is what the authority is supposed to do. This is what the Act says. I am not saying it. It's the Act that says the authority will determine, prescribe, and enforce minimum standards of occupational conduct in respect of the private security services industry. So, in fact, what you took to Parliament as regulations are service standards. And Fasul, I'm giving you 30 days to publish those service standards according to this Act. Prepare the Gazette notice, and the authority publishes those service standards. Because ask IG MATIANG'I, he has what is called service standing orders. These are the service standing orders you are supposed to publish according to this act. So I'm giving you the next 1 week, you should be done with them. And then you bring the ministry, the legal people in the ministry approve that. We publish that by gazette notice. Because this act requires you to do so. That is what this act says. I am not the one who says this. That's what this act says. Then secondly, because the act says that the authority shall operate under the supervision of the minister. So here is how I would like to do my work. Number one, I would like in the next 3 months, because this is something I've gone through and I've studied with my colleagues in the ministry, in the next 90 days, I'd like us to do a compliance audit of all private security organizations in the country. So, we have 2,000 of them. So, I'd like you on 30th of March, 2020, by God's grace, you bring me a list. Because this act says you are supposed to be supervised by the cabinet secretary. And if you look at the definition, it says the cabinet secretary for the time being in charge of interior and coordination of national government. So until a reshuffle happens, I am that particular one being called here. So on 30th of March, you bring a compliance report of all private security organizations in the country. The compliance report includes a KRA compliance for directors of the companies and the companies themselves. In the remittance of statutory deductions of these private security officers to KRA and everything else, KRA must say this company has complied or not complied. If they are not remitting deductions, if they are not doing what they're supposed to do, the compliance includes a report of the KRA for the companies and for the directors of those companies. And then the requisite security background compliance review that we do in the sector, as it were. So you work in collaboration with the Inspector General of Police, the Director General of National Intelligence Service, and the Inspector General of Police has got all the departments that are required here, including the Criminal Investigations Department and everybody, so that we review the compliance of everyone who is in this sector. On 1st of April next year, by God's grace, anyone who has not complied will not be in business. So Fasul, on 1st of April next year, by God's grace, we are reissuing licenses to private security companies in Kenya, so that we follow those who have complied. If you have not complied, you cannot do business in our country. I mean, this is not something that we are doing among us ourselves. You see, we complain a lot. Thanks. And I know the dance will now begin, because I did this with the Betting, Licensing and Control Board. Then, I was told, then you begin the dance. The CS is being... I said, I'm following the law. That is it. I'm just implementing the law. And even if you say, send emissaries, you can send 25 emissaries to me. I will follow what the law says I do. That is what happens. There is no question. This is not a matter. I'm not the one who wrote this. It was passed by Parliament. It says that I do certain things. Now I am doing them. Now, secondly, because, my friends, everywhere we've gone in the various sectors, when we have looked into this and began to look at compliance review, we discovered that many mistakes have been made, even in licensing itself of organizations. There are so many security companies, and my brother, the IG, will tell you, there are so many briefcase security companies in the country, briefcase private investigation agencies in the country. Some of them are actually abetting crime, as it were, not knowing that the IG needs to be satisfied with them. They have to follow, the law as prescribed by the Act, so that we all live in an orderly society. When we did this the other day with the firearm licensing board, and cleaned up the firearm licensing board, reorganized the firearm licensing board, and now began compliance review of all firearm dealers. Out of 33 licensed companies, 20 could not pass muster. 20. And they had been operating around and so on. You saw how many guns we destroyed the other day and bullets that were in the wrong hands. This is our country. This is our only home on earth. Let's do the right thing for our country, Jamani. Yeah. So we will do that review from 1st of April. You will reissue the licenses. after comprehensive compliance, as it were, has been sorted out. And on the other hand, we are now working on a protocol with the Inspector General of Police on what we said in terms of sharing responsibilities. These investors and our people in Kenya need now to be given an opportunity, to provide security services. For example, the first line we are going to pull out of is many of these parastatals. We will pull out and let the private security companies provide security, so that they are paid to do that. Non-core services, including FIB protection, we will reduce, our level of deployment at FIB protection, because through this curriculum you will have been trained, effectively, and we can trust that you have been trained effectively to provide services to our people. And then we will look at all this, and then the compliance includes looking at the welfare. We cannot pretend that we are not going to look at the welfare of the employees we have in private security organizations. Because if we don't pay attention to their welfare, this, honestly, this, my friends. If you have dissatisfied employees who are not properly remunerated, who are not properly looked after, we can't then pretend that they are providing security when they are not themselves not properly looked after. So, let us work together. As I said, some of these things may be a bit tough. Some of these may keep a few of you out of business, and that is it. But we are going to remain with very solid and strong companies that are determined to walk with us the journey of reforming the security sector as we go forward. Then, my colleagues at the ministry and I, with the help of the Office of the Attorney General, we are going to read this act with a fine-tooth comb. I want to assure you, where we have a role to play, we will play it without fear or favor. Where we need to have discussions with you, and we are not going to ride roughshod over your interests and wake up in the morning and force you to do things. We will discuss them with you. We are willing, ready, and available to have discussions with you on how we can move forward. We are not available to be lobbied the way you lobby Parliament, but we are available to discuss. We are public servants. We are not allowed to be lobbied because we are allowed to operate strictly on this. You can lobby Parliament. That's why legislative institutions around the world, even in the US, are lobbied. That's why people are called lobbyists. Lobbyists are those people working lobbies outside the Parliament in the US, in the UK, even in our Parliament here. There are many lobbyists. Although, I don't know in our country whether they work outside Parliament or somewhere else. But anyway, to us, we can't deal with lobbyists. We are public servants. We just follow the law. We are bound, hell-bent, to live with this and make sure that this is what we implement as we go forward. So I hope to see you at the end of March when the compliance has begun. The Inspector General of Police and the National Police Service are available to provide support to you for the training. Now, because of the rationalization of the numbers that we have and the way we have reorganized ourselves, I want to tell you we have sufficient resources. The IG is right in saying this. We have sufficient resources to provide you support for training. Our expanded colleges in Kiganjo, APTC, Magadi, everywhere, we have sufficient resources to support you, to train, equip private security operators and private security personnel to measure up to the standards that we want them to be, so that we now work together as colleagues as we move forward on this matter. I am not shy to say this. The usual dance in Kenya is you will go to court, some of you who don't agree with this. Then you bring all these issues. My assurance to you is this: we are law-abiding. Tutaenda koti hata sisi na nyinyi tukiwa pamoja. And I'm sure the judiciary will give us a chance to say our side of the story. But I can assure you, our resolve will not change. Even if you sue us many times, we must bring about order in the way in which this sector operates. It is for the good, first of all, of the investors, then for the good of our people, our country, and most importantly, the private security officers that we have around here. It's very important for us to do that. So good work. Wakati kazi inatangazwa, I become happier because there's more work to do. So now tumetangaza kazi and I am happy. We are going to start doing it. So God bless you as I declare the training curriculum officially launched. Thank you.